for take up 5 minutes.
First, I want to thank y'all for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you.
Heard a lot of great things about y'all. Most of y'all I do know, and you know, I respect y'all tremendously. My name is Bryan Skero. I've been in law enforcement now going on almost 16 years. Majority of that's been here in Montgomery County as a constable. I'm currently in Harris County Precinct 3 Constable's office as a supervisor over the narcotics interdiction team, the K9 unit, and I'm currently assigned to a criminal interdiction unit as well. It's made up of 10 guys, and we deal with high cartel level narcotics to human trafficking, stuff like that, smuggling. So it's most of my career has been in the narcotics field, undercover since to just mainly doing interdiction on the highway. I had the pleasure of working in Montgomery County prior to coming to Harris County, which was for Precinct 4 Montgomery County. Through some issues that were happening in that department, I felt it was time for me to leave at that time and pursue other adventures. And that's what brought me here to run for constable.
Okay, great. How long ago did you leave Precinct 4?
A little over 3 years ago now.
3 years ago? Okay. And so why are you running for this position now? Why is this, you think, the best fit for you as opposed to being in Harris County? As far as your career move?
As anybody knows, Harris County is not the, they got major issues. I've always lived in Montgomery County, always, you know, I wanted my family here. We have businesses, and majority of it's in East Montgomery County. And I personally felt that the current administration there was not providing the services that not only my family but the public, the citizens really needed. It was being poorly ran. As much as I tried throwing my 2 cents in and respectfully throwing it in, I was getting shut down, and I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to make a difference and a change.
Okay. Thanks for that.
So, what is the area that Precinct 4 Constable area covers geographically?
It's a rather large area. If I'm not mistaken, anybody help me out on this, but I think it's the largest constable agency in Montgomery County as far as square miles. We border with Liberty County north of us, Harris County on the far east end and the south end, as well as we go into Grangerland, Cut and Shoot, into Conroe a little bit. So it's rather large.
Okay. And where do you live?
New Caney.
New Caney. Okay. How many deputies are in the Precinct 4?
When I was there, I think there was 32 deputies at the time. I want to say 8 administrative positions, and then 4 or 5 civilian clerk.
Okay.
With your experience in drug enforcement, what's your position on civil asset forfeiture?
Depending on what you're referring to.
Is it permissible for you to go and take assets without having a warrant, or without arresting the individual?
No, I don't believe you should. I mean, if depending on the situation, in my experience doing the highway interdiction, you know, you have people that smuggle narcotics. You got them that smuggle guns, human aliens, and then obviously currency. You know, I stopped guys that had $15,000 on them, and they were hiding it. You know, which me personally, I would hide money too if I'm traveling with it. But I could always tell from my experience if they're actually smuggling or, you know, if they're legitimate people that own the money. But, you know, they gotta, there's other things that gotta take into effect that, you know, if they got a business, they own a business or, you know, they got a job, they work and everything, it's legitimate money. But if I run the history on them and they got history of smuggling drugs and just all the criminal history, you know, I'll dig in a little bit deeper. I'm not gonna just automatically seize their money based off that. I don't think that's right. I think I gotta have the burden of proof to prove that, hey, that, you know, they are smuggling money illegally. But stuff like that. But even the vehicles, you know, I seized a lot of vehicles before. They're using their vehicles to smuggle narcotics. And I think financially is where you hit these people. Harris County in particular, due to the fact that $100 bond, they're out of jail for 20 kilos of cocaine. So I take their cars from them, and I'll take their, you know, $5,000–6,000 they got on them as payment to smuggle that drug. I'll hit them financially as much as I can. I don't have a problem with that at all.
And if they go to court and they're found not guilty?
No, then we give it back.
Okay.
So, I mean, there is a process on that end. We know just because we seize it, we can't be driving it the next day. We have to wait till they actually go to the seizure hearing, and you know, all that's finished up, and whatever they decide, if the vehicle or the money has to be given back, then obviously we give it back, or it gets awarded to us. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of a strange question, but I've heard more than once, different sources, that criminals prefer Harris County. They don't want to come in Montgomery County because its chances of winding up in jail are much higher here. So would it be possible that you could do more good in your current position than in the Constable Precinct 4 position?
Not at all. Not at all. Like I said, I am in Harris County, and your sources are 100% correct. Whenever I was here in Montgomery County, I would chase my guys, the criminals I was looking for, into Harris County. And now that I'm in Harris County, all the Montgomery County guys are still coming to Harris County because they know if they get caught, if I catch them there, they know I'm there. Because I've been dealing with them for years. They know if I catch them there, they're going to be out before I even get back to my office. I mean, it's ridiculous. And they tell me firsthand, I don't want to go to Montgomery County. I'll do and they call it dirt. That's the drug selling, their dirty work. They do it in Harris County, and but they live in Montgomery County just for the simple fact that they know if they get caught in Montgomery County, they're screwed. They're going to look at life sentences for a lot of stuff they do.
Okay. You mentioned that you want to expand the reach of Montgomery County Precinct 4. And you list a number of divisions, et cetera, a number of functions. Almost, if you wanted to let your mind go there, you could say he's just trying to duplicate the sheriff's department. And again, a lot of those divisions you mentioned, their core responsibility is in the sheriff's office, not in the constable's office. So why are you wanting to do that? If you need to staff up, wouldn't it be more sensible to staff up in the sheriff's department where the responsibility lies?
Through my experience, not downplaying the sheriff's department, their responsibilities are tremendous. You know, the constable, obviously the constable's responsibility is civil process, and they're at the JP's need. You know, we take care of the court, the JP courts. If you look at it, it doesn't take a whole lot of constables to run civil process. I mean, it does. You know, it takes a unit to do civil process. It takes a few guys to do the courts. But we're tasked with, you know, like I said, 32 guys. What are you going to do with I say that even 20 guys? Their responsibilities to help out the sheriff's department. That's the way it started, was to help out the sheriff's department with calls, traffic enforcement. Throughout the years, Sheriff's Department started adding more guys onto to the department, so they were able to handle the call volume. So it went from us helping them out with calls to go ahead and running traffic. Then it went from traffic to, we're stopping these cars, getting all these drugs. It's a repetitive process. Why not go a little bit further and, start talking to these people and seeing where they're buying their drugs? Go to these houses, setting up deals. Sheriff's Department, as it stands right now, they do not have the manpower to do that at all. Zero. They may, and sad as it is, a lot of their focus is not East Montgomery County at all. Sure, it's never been through Guy Williams, any of them sheriffs. East Montgomery County has always been a thorn in their side. And
Where is their focus primarily?
Conroe, Woodlands area, stuff like that. Now, I heard maybe a month ago that they just are getting 16 new deputies just for East Montgomery County, which is awesome. I've never seen that in my 20-something years I've been out there. Yes. And honestly, I really don't know what they're going to do with them.
East County.
East County. So, and I think that'd be a tremendous help. Maybe that relieve a lot of the duties that the current Constable administration is doing right now, to where they can focus on the civil aspect side of it, to even maybe the warrant side of it, getting the warrants back. So,
Let me get what's paid.
serving the warrants that are already there, or going to their house. Hey, you got a warrant, can you take care of it, or do you want, basically sit it out in jail? So, because as it stands right now, the Sheriff's Department does all that for us. All the JP warrants, the traffic tickets that's being written out of JP Dunn's court. I think it's and it's always been the responsibilities of the constables to do the warrant aspect of things. But throughout the years, whenever I was reserving under Travis Bishop, we did the warrants. And something happened, I guess, when Constable Hayden took office, it got thrown onto the Sheriff's Department, which that's another huge burden on them. So.
So,
Hey, can I play onto that for just, and then come back to you, David? It seems like, and it's been talked about that, I know, and I'm probably taking your question, he comes from Denton County, and there's not really a whole lot of constable presence there.
eight.
Eight
Oh,
total
wow.
in the county,
No, 8 in a precinct.
and a precinct.
In a precinct,
Yeah,
8.
yeah.
Eight employees.
Right, so, and it's to do the civil process,
Civil process.
and it's almost kind of like, each county commissioner is building his own little empire with his constable and his precinct, and he has control over that guy, and it's like that all over the county. What's your read on that?
I see it. I saw it firsthand when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak for all the other precincts and commissioners. East Montgomery County, it's always been like that since,
Sadly.
my gosh.
So the commissioners put a squeeze on the sheriff, which they're understaffed, and, we'll take care of that shortage by,
Dispersing out the constables.
yeah.
I mean, when I was under Precinct 4 administration, the commissioner himself opened up a slot for a personal deputy to drive him around and
This was
do
Montgomery or Harrison?
Montgomery County,
Is this Ryan Howard?
yes, to do environmental. I've never seen an environmental thing happen out there. I would tell them the violation. I would go far as taking pictures, getting statements, and nothing would ever get done. And I was like, I couldn't understand for the life of me what he was doing, assigned to Commissioner Reinhardt's. Oh, no, I'm not Reinhardt, it was Clark. Sorry, Clark.
Oh,
And he drove him around.
Too big to driver's out.
So, and this guy, and the deputy I'm speaking of, his background was environmental. He left working for the state environmental to come to the constable's office, and then back on an environmental position that he never did environment.
That might have been a good old boy promotion.
And that's a problem.
yeah,
That's a problem.
yeah.
Hence another reason I'm running. I'm tired of the good old boy system out there.
So, the cartel activity in Roman Forest, how do we solve that problem?
King's Colony.
Is it?
Well, part of Harris County I'm in is obviously Huffman, Crosby, Baytown, Cloverleaf, Channelview, everything. I learned recently when a gentleman got shot, it was a drug deal gone bad. It was a young kid got shot in Liberty County. And the guy and the FBI got involved, and the two suspects they were looking for were coming out of that Ranch Reno, San Jacinto, or whatever that is, which in turn a lot of them had ties to the Kings, whatever that was back in Roman Forest. It's huge. Nobody does anything out there. On my level, you know, obviously that San Jacinto, that's in Liberty County, but they got to come through that little stretch of Plum Grove Road in Harris County. So I can only do so much on the traffic enforcement side of it, but they're coming out of Montgomery County, straight back to their house. And I told the current administration this many times, and of course, since I'm running against Rowdy, that they don't want help at all. They don't want to have nothing to do with me. So, but yes, there is a lot of things you can do. To answer your question, a lot.
So, it sounds like to me that there's, maybe there's too many deputies in Precinct 4, unless I'm missing something. You want to kind of implement some new things. Will there be a cost involved in initiating some things you want to do, or will you be able to use the force that you have?
No, it's I mean, it's a good question. Zero cost. The equipment's there, the manpower's there. It's going to be, the only thing that's not there is the structure.
And the cars.
No, the cars are there, for the most part. I ain't gonna say, I'm not saying that they're healthy cars, but they're there.
I was gonna say, you've got some words in here that
Yeah,
pointed.
no, I know. It is, and that's a whole nother problem, but a lot of people don't understand, when you're doing units, specialized divisions like that, I'm a firm believer, a two-man unit is one of the ways to go. When you're dealing with the high level, you know, narcotics, high level stuff like that. For instance, the current events that are happening, you know, with stuff that's going on now. But no, as far as the deputies, honestly, I don't think there's too many deputies there. It's just not managed the way it should be, and they're not put in the positions where they need to make a difference. So. Because when I was working there, on the civil side, you had to go to class. You had to go through a civil school. I never went through one, ever, because I've always did narcotics. And when he hired me on, that's what I did, was narcotics. I never had to go through a civil school, so therefore, I was never allowed to serve civil papers. And if I did, it wouldn't be a good process. Wouldn't be a good service. And, but you know, that's a whole other issue that he's facing with Tico in itself right now. But and all it was a simple sending the state an email saying these guys are exempt from serving civil paper. That's all he had to do, and he never did it. But I couldn't understand why he would have so many guys working patrol, the highway, doing narcotics. When the main function of a constable's position is civil service and serving the JP courts, and there wasn't never enough guys to serve civil papers. But you had all these other guys doing stuff that, yeah, okay, it's fine. They love, you know, it's fun going out there getting drugs, busting bad guys, but as a constable's department, you know, you gotta, your civil duty is the civil service process. And he had such a hard, till this day, he still has a hard time with doing that, and I don't understand why.
Does New Katy ISD have their own law enforcement? Or are they in
The
contract?
ISD does, yes,
The
sir.
ISD does. There's a drug problem in East County. I don't know how New Caney ISD feels about having dogs go through, but as a dog handler, do you have an issue with having surprise checks or a daily time when an officer from the constable's office would go through and do a drug check through the lockers in the schools?
Not at all. I used to do it when I was a K-9 under Precinct 4. Mainly it was Splendora is where I went a lot. Matter of fact, it was the third Thursday of the month. I would, in the morning time, I would go out there and run the high school, and then I guess it's the alternative school, kind of downtown part area.
Mhm.
And I'd help them out because they didn't have K-9s. New Caney ISD, which they cover obviously New Caney ISD along with Porter.
Mhm.
I think they had 2 or 3 dogs, but Splendora didn't have any. So I was helping them out quite a bit. So no, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I think the Constable's Department should be helping out the ISDs more than what they're doing now, which is nothing, honestly.
Well, again, the ISDs, just like the constable's office, have mandated responsibilities. And again, they're licensed peace officers for the state of Texas, and they can enforce any law.
Yes.
They just have to have the will to do so.
Yeah, that's the problem we have. 'Cause I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the, I don't care where you're, Harris County, Montgomery County, Fort Bend, wherever you're at, drugs in schools is a big issue. So, and nobody really focuses in on that whatsoever. But I wanna be able to implement something to try helping out at least.
Well, is that because the schools don't want to look bad?
I don't think it's necessarily schools. I honestly, if I was constable and I go to the superintendent and say, hey, this is what I want to bring in, a couple deputies a few times a week, month, whatever, I don't think you have a problem with it. With the chief of police, ISD, probably. It's more of I'm stepping on his toes, and he's the boss over all that. So, but that'd be a relationship.
But you're there to help. You're there to assist.
And I know it's something I have to kind of ease in and just fill out the current chiefs. I don't know who they are. I had a real good relationship with the old ISD, New Caney ISD, but I don't know who the new one is now.
But you're willing to work with them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
100%.
thanks.
Okay, you described, one of your concrete goals was to provide an electronic civil process serving system. Is there a specific system you have in mind? Where is it used? How compatible will it be with what is used in other constable districts?
When I did work there, in the time I did have to serve papers, they had somewhat of a electronic system. Basically, I served the papers, all the papers. After I'm finished, I come back to the office, I put it in the system, but I still had to turn all the paperwork into the clerk. She would have to go ahead and enter stuff in manually in the computers and everything too, which was a long process, just so it could get sent back to the courts. Working in Harris County, and I pay attention to a lot of their stuff. Everything's just, it's electronic. Y'all always still have the actual hard paper that you have to give that individual to make it a good service, which is fine. But through relationship with the courts and everything, the courts could actually get into the same system and see if that paper was served, what the disposition of it is and everything. As it stands, a few years ago, over 3 years ago when I was there, courts couldn't do that. They physically had to have the hard copy in hand to see what type of service happened.
But you don't know that's still the case.
I don't think it is, honestly, I don't. I would've heard something different from a guy that still works there.
What about the other constables? Do they have a system such as you're talking about?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Every JP court and constable's office that's serving under them is gonna be different on how they do things.
Reinventing the wheel is an expensive process, so that's why I asked if you had a specific
is.
system in mind.
There's something out there, because Harris County has it. And a lot of times, and referring to that, a lot of times was, we'd get papers and we'd end up going into another precinct. Like Precinct 2, for example, at the 38-3, 1485 Four Corners area. And, well, instead of being lazy, they're still a Texas police officer, although it's not their precinct, they can still serve that paper. But they wouldn't. They'd send it back to the courts. Courts have to get it, send it to Precinct 2 courts, then they issue it to the Precinct 2 constables. Now we're 3 days into it, when it could have just got served right then and there, put in the system electronically, and saw that it was a Precinct 2 service paper, and Precinct 2 could look in that system and see it too. I mean, it's just frivolous on how they were doing things.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned the animal, about an animal shelter for East County. And we have an animal shelter.
242,
Yeah,
45
Woodlands,
roughly.
yeah, so what's deficient? Why would the constable be involved with that, and then what's the issue that's driving?
My idea behind that was, East Montgomery County is, it's just rampant with, wild animals. Animal attacks quite a bit, to that nature, stuff like that. I wouldn't mind doing, because it's Commissioner Ran. So when Precinct 4 Commissioner runs that one, it wouldn't hurt to do another one out, but also in that aspect have a animal police, basically. He's still a police officer, don't enforce doghead, yeah, basically. I don't know what they're called now.
Yeah, I don't either.
But, he could write the summons, citations for violations, stuff like that. As it stands now, I think somebody out of Conroe has to come. And good luck trying to get them to come out there.
Out of the 240, it's out of 242.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's-
animal
they're
control
so-
is there at
they're so
242.
Even as a off-duty in a civilian manner at my house, when I call sometime 911, because, I don't want to shoot a dog, but, I got an aggressive animal, that I get told, well, if you got to shoot him, shoot him. Well, if we had something local out there to take the pressure off of the animal shelter at 242 area, I think that'd be tremendous. And then have the enforcement part that's attached with Precinct 4 office as well, so.
Top 3 areas where the budget for this office needs to be adjusted. You gave 3 areas, the first one being reduce the amount of command staff. Now that's what, 8? What would you reduce it to? Or is it
It's
than
more
that?
now.
Yeah. What would you reduce that to?
Office at that size, obviously the constable himself, deputy chief, 1 captain, 1 lieutenant, anywhere from 4 to 6 sergeants and the rest deputies, versus having, I think they got 3 captains, 3 lieutenants now, 8 or 10, something outrageous. For a size of the department, that's unacceptable.
Is that just because the thing grew so much and they wanted a path for increase, or is there nepotism involved there, good old boy network?
That's a good old boy system.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And second thing was cost of vehicle maintenance. You kind of touched on that. Some people say, we lease our cars every 3 years, but some people drive them until the wheels come off. There could be a case, So what's wrong with that? And unless it's breaking down in a chase or something like that, or it costs more to maintain it than what a new vehicle would be.
When I was there, the 5 years I was working for that office, I can count on 2 fingers, how many new vehicles we got in 5 years. I can tell you how many times I had an older vehicle before I got one of the new ones, because I was K9. And the other problem we had was when I had a mechanical issue with my vehicle, it was, I guess, the flavor of the month on who we took it to. It didn't go just to one specific maintenance shop. It went to this guy, because I've known him 20-something years, to, this guy, and of course they're charging the heck out of you.
Right.
And I made it
Is
a
that
point.
the direction of the constable?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, from my experience, I believe that get rid of these, because they used to have and the relief they had was they had to take personal cars. They were getting car allowances, which is no more countywide. So I know the burden is a lot more strenuous on them now with all these other vehicles that they're having to absorb due to no more personal rides. So, and you got to know you got a police car, which everybody knows they're driven a lot harder than anybody's personal vehicles. Maintenance is, you can probably get, I don't know, 60,000 miles out of your tires. We can get maybe 10, 15. And tires are, expensive, especially when you got a fleet of 15, 20 vehicles coming out. Then, wrecking them, you got to take that in effect, the crashes, all the hard driving, the maintenance. It's a lot. And then when you don't have a specific place to take it to, and one guy charges this much and then another guy charges this much, there's no structure and none of that. So I think if they would come up with some type of fleet plan that would allow, assortment of new vehicles to come in and go ahead and get rid of the old ones, sell them, or, auction, whatever they do with them, try to get a little bit of money for them. I think it'd ease up the maintenance budget tremendously. You're still gonna have your oil changes, in Harris County, we call it PMs. Basically every oil change, they do a PM on your vehicle. Tires to the brakes, everything, just preventative maintenance.
Right.
And Precinct 4, I know they didn't have that there whatsoever. You drove it till something broke, then go get it fixed, is all it was.
Is that contracted out, or is that in Harris County? Is that
They have, it's called a Vehicle Maintenance Center, and they got maybe 6 or 8 of them throughout Harris County, and that's where we took them. And a lot of it fell under the commissioners. Like the commissioners, they would, because they have to do maintenance on their vehicles, their equipment and everything. Why not let the county guys do that? So take it to their maintenance guys and get just, regular PMs on. I know I can understand sometimes they can't, fix, totally rebuild an engine if it needs to. It'd have to go to a dealership or something like that. That's gonna happen,
So the third part of that question real quick is lack of training and education is costing a lot of money. You got an idea how much that might be?
That's two sides on that one. I don't know the amount. I can tell you some figures when I was there. When I say the lack of training education, it goes on the path of, because they're not trained and educated right, they're doing stuff wrong, which causes frivolous lawsuits, or not frivolous lawsuits, but legitimate lawsuits that the county would have to end up paying out. And if y'all would pull the open records request for the amount of lawsuits they paid out, under that administration, it's tremendous. I strongly believe if, you got a deputy that's, you send him religiously through training, and teaching him the new laws, keeping him updated with everything, it'd dwindle down. You're always gonna have complaints of somebody filing some type of lawsuit, but a legitimate lawsuit, I think it'll completely knock that down. Now, the other side to that is, East Montgomery County does not have a training facility. I think Chief Carlisle with Roman Forest, all he is a T-Cole. Basically, you send him all your guys' training hours, he reports it, and sends it to T-Cole for you. That's it. I think if we led the East Montgomery County area and did our own in-house training, I think that would tremendously cut the cost of training, because as it stands right now, we would have to pay for a class, which is normally $200-300. If it's out of county, out of state, you're looking at plane tickets, per diem, lodging, everything. But if we can do everything in-house, not only will that save us a lot of money, because it's going to be free to East Montgomery County, all the surrounding agencies in Montgomery County, but it also attract, other law enforcement from Harris County to Liberty to everything, and they're the ones that are going to be paying to come to training. So
why can't this be done by the sheriff's office for all law enforcement within the county?
Some are. They do have some classes that are opened up to other agencies, but not all of them.
So along that line, I thought that there was a certain amount of updated training that to keep your license, or whatever it's called, that you have to go to.
It is. It's mandatory classes that TCO gives you. It's not many, but you do got to maintain certain. I think it's 60 hours every 2 years, which that's nothing. I mean, I could do that in a week time, basically.
So are they not doing that? How can they keep their license?
No, they're doing it.
They're doing
But to keep the cost down of having to send these guys to
I see.
Dallas or something,
Yeah.
just to attend this class when we could put it on here for free.
Okay.
That would save so much money.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to lead, be a leader in that and go ahead and be a training facility, a provider for that. And it don't make sense to me why they never tried it or thought of it, so.
I would want to build an empire in doing so, and I would hope that if you got into office, you would pursue this, but pursue it not just for East County, pursue it for the entire county.
Yes.
And have one training facility that could be funded by all the commissioners and take care of everything that y'all need. If you cannot work it in with the sheriff's office, that would be number one.
Financially, yes. Sheriff's Department has a training academy, Conroe does too, but they're limited, and the problem is they're limited on how many guys can come at that, but what classes they can attend.
But again, if you're in office, are you willing to work it work with the sheriff to be able to make that available so that all the training can be done at one facility and for all county law enforcement? I'm not talking about the cities. If the cities want to buy on, then that's fine, but if it's a county entity, then the county should be paying for the training and save the money from sending people all over the states.
Yes, that's one of the main ideas behind all that is to get everybody else involved in it too. Even Splendora, Pat Village, Wood Branch, everybody. Conroe, Sheriff's Department. I mean, because it's a little complicated because sometimes there'll be classes the whole month that the Sheriff's Department puts on that a certain deputy doesn't need because he's already attended those classes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to look and see online who's putting on a certain class just so he can attend that, because if he doesn't get those hours in a timely manner, he gets, in trouble through TCO, through the state.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of all that is so everybody would have not only a close working relationship, but the training that everybody needs to. It's not going to be just open to East Montgomery County. But that's just where it's going to be at. So.
Again, why? Why would it be in East Montgomery County if it could not be done at the sheriff's office, even if expansion needed to take place, instead of having separate facilities in each precinct. I'm sure that the precinct commissioners would love to do that and to be able to fund it and make them look good and get more votes, but that's not to the benefit of the county. The benefit of the county and for the entire county would be for one training facility that's jointly used by every agency.
I mean, that'd be something I'd be very much open to. It's the same concept that I was, referring to on that. Doesn't matter where it's at, but I just chose East Montgomery County because that's where I'd be. And, because a lot of the instructors are gonna come from, the local agencies around.
And that's throughout the entire county,
Yes.
again.
Yeah. So, East County's where I chose.
You'd just be a cog in the wheel.
Well, it's just that you do need more facilities like that open, because like I said, Sheriff's Department has theirs, Conroe PD has theirs,
But city, okay,
but they're
never mind.
busy. You only can fit certain amount of guys in there, that's it. And then if that class is done, am I missing the whole concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you mentioned about you successfully managed several of your own businesses. Please elaborate on that a bit. One job isn't enough, and what inspires you to do that, what kind of businesses, and so forth.
The first one that I got into was with my dad. We opened a barbecue restaurant. It was pretty successful. We had some issues with the landlord. He didn't want to renew the lease, so my dad took it to just shutting the restaurant down to doing nothing but catering. So we have that. He's been a carpenter all his life, so and he taught me the trade. So we do build tiny homes as well. We started doing the tiny homes, and it went from that to somebody wanting to join with us to build a veteran community tiny home, which that's another project we're working on right now as well. So, I mean, everything's been successful. Helped my cousin out starting with his furniture business, and it's grown tremendously. My dad helped his brother out with the barber shops, which now their sons took over it, and they're successful as well.
Okay.
Never knew what a tiny home was till I watched HGTV.
We've actually got one in our
Lived in one,
neighborhood.
but, what's that?
We actually got one in our neighborhood.
So a tiny home is actually tiny?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
assume it's
about
about,
the size of this room.
Yeah.
How many square feet?
One I'm building now is 340 square feet.
Yeah, not much bigger than
Tiny
that.
enough for you.
Some of them are smaller.
Can you get that in Conroe past the city?
Sure. Well, it all depends. There's ways around it. I mean, you put it on a trailer, it could be considered a RV type.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's the basic setup of them, is RV types.
So with all these police forces we have, how do they route 911 calls?
One central.
Right, I understand, but who do they give it to? State, city, ISD?
911 determines where the location is, and then they're the ones that make the
And
calls.
the dispatch.
The 911 makes the call, and they
Yes.
just look.
So
how do
basically-
they know which officer's closest, or how do
They don't. Basically, the way to go is you're in New Caney. You have somebody trespassing. You call 911. They'll find out where it's at, verify it. They dispatch. In the words that says District 3 trespasser in progress at this address. Closest unit or the free unit, a key up and take it. So there's no set assigned
So you could have any of those
any.
police officers show up?
If it's in the county but Splendora unit's closer, he's gonna take it. But he'll sit there and wait for a county unit.
The
because it's out of
call
his
goes
city,
out to the county.
which is
County.
understandable.
Okay.
But yeah. Or they'll specify if it's city of Splendora, they'll give the address, say, basically any Splendora PD, you got a call in your city. So.
Bob.
I'm gonna pass for now.
Yeah.
Okay, you talked about, you feel like the current staff is a little bit top-heavy with respect to office, captains, lieutenants, and all that stuff. How do you address something like that? Most agencies, if they feel like they've got an issue, they'll depend upon retirements or transfers or whatever, attrition. Would you actually demote some people? How do you get to where you want to be?
In a situation like this, it's civil service, all Montgomery County civil service. Lieutenants and below are covered under civil service, captains above aren't. I foresee when I take office that I'd lose all my captains. I'll definitely lose the deputy chief. They're not gonna stay under my administration.
Because?
It's common practice. They know, they already know.
Okay.
Because I know the majority of them and what they're about, what they, you know, their dark secrets, and they know I know, so they know not to even be around when I get in.
Okay.
So, I wouldn't have to say nothing. They won't be there.
You won't have to ask them to leave.
Not at all.
Especially since.
As far as the lieutenants and stuff, you know, I'm not gonna come in and just start kicking people to the curb. If I would, I mean, obviously strongly implement the SOPs and the procedures and everything of the department, the guidelines. And I expect them to do their job the way they're supposed to. And if they don't, then there's no place on that, in that department for them, if they can't abide.
Okay.
It's not gonna be a come in, get rid of all this and have, you know, spots start. It's gonna take a while.
And under the budget section, you mentioned that it's costing a lot of money because county's responsible for any lawsuits. You made allusion to the fact that there's a lot of lawsuits. Have you pulled them? Do you have numbers? Do you have dollar figures? Can you give us some statistics rather than just a general statement?
During my time there, I know of 3 lawsuits that they paid out, and it was almost close to $1 million for all 3.
Okay, and your time there was
5 years from
5 years? Okay.
5 years.
Okay.
5 years, 3 years,
You got another
yeah, up till then, about.
So, one of the questions on here was what's your position on red flag laws? Expansion of background checks to firearm sales, imposing civil liability on sellers of firearms, or any additional regulation of the private sale of firearms. And your comment was, my duties as constable is to follow and enforce the laws. It's not to make new laws or legislate from the constable's office. I'd leave that to the legislators in Austin. When you are sworn in, even as a deputy, you're sworn in to uphold the Constitution. So if a law is given that's passed down to you that's against the Constitution, which you took an oath to uphold, would you be willing to enforce it?
Yes, I would. I mean, it's.
So if the law comes down that states you have to take everybody's gun away from them, you'd be willing to do that?
That's going against the Constitution, no, I would not.
Okay.
Not on that aspect of it. I'm a firm believer of Second Amendment.
Okay, well, there has to be a line on what you
There
would
is.
or wouldn't do
There is.
against the Constitution.
To me,
Because you're-
honestly, I think the Constitution's set in stone, the way it is, that's the way it is. There's no, deferring away from it, implementing some law to counteract the Constitution. No, I don't believe in that. You got the laws and you got the Constitution. That's it. Plain as, it's black and white, plain and simple. So.
Okay.
Anybody else? Wrap it up. If you want to do a closing, and then we'll do it right.
Okay. Well, no, I just, like I said, I'd like to thank y'all for y'all's time. I enjoyed it first time, nervous, but kind of started subsiding a little bit, because this is stuff I love talking about. It's interesting to me. I mean, there's so much. I know, I've been in law enforcement so long, you know, I had the opportunity to work from small agencies to, you know, big agencies. Thousands of manpower to 40, 38, 32. So I've seen a lot. If anybody would look at my career, I think I've done more stuff than anybody could imagine in law enforcement. More than a 30-year veteran ever done. I've been shot, I've been stabbed, I've shot people. Matter of fact, 2 of them been here in Montgomery County when I worked it. Seen more drugs than anybody would ever see in their lifetime. I mean, it's just, I'm not used to, my background is, it was never nickel and dime drugs like everybody. It's like everybody's gonna have that. You know, they're gonna have a small bag of marijuana on them. They're gonna have something on them. My plans, my ambition is go after the people that put that in those people's hands. I think that's the cure for everything. If you can stop that, you know, that's all you need. So, I'm very proactive. One of the most proactive law enforcement guys y'all probably ever meet. I got zero tolerance to crime, crime against, especially against other people, but crime in general. But yeah, just feel free to ask me anything you want. I'm an open book. So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.